Hey everyone, welcome back to the Mass Retirees Weekly Update. Today's Friday, June 13th. I'm Sean Duhamel. Thank you so much for joining with us and tuning in again this week. Now, over the past week or so, we have heard from quite a few of our members with questions pertaining to Social Security. Not necessarily the Social Security Fairness Act, but Social Security eligibility in general, particularly when it comes to spousal or survivor Social Security benefits. There seems to be a great deal of confusion and just a misunderstanding of who qualifies for either spousal or survivor benefits, what that means, what the different benefit levels are, and then what you need to do to go ahead and apply for those benefits. So even if you think that you're not eligible for Social Security, or if you are collecting a Social Security benefit, please pay close attention to this week's message, both this video, but more importantly, the weekly email message that goes out to all Mass Retirees members for whom we have an email address for. Goes out every Friday morning at 6 a.m. under my name, and it's going to give you a really detailed and hopefully easy to understand overview of how you might qualify for Social Security benefits, because we don't want to see any of our members leaving money on the table that you're eligible to receive. And in some cases, as you'll read in the weekly message, this could be a great deal of money. We're talking about thousands of dollars a month, tens of thousands of dollars in retroactive benefits under the Fairness Act. So we want to make sure we're getting all of this information to all of you. Now, if you're watching this video and you're not a member of Mass Retirees, and if you are a retired Massachusetts public employee, either from the state, the county, municipal level, we represent all retired Massachusetts public employees, but membership in our association is voluntary. So if you're not already a member, please join. The only way that we're able to do this work on behalf of all of you is because we have a robust membership. We've been in existence since 1968, so we're coming up on almost 60 years of doing this type of work. We also represent active employees who are nearing retirement age, who become associate members of our association and utilize our resources to help you in your retirement planning process. So if either one of these fits, please consider becoming a member. You can join online at massretirees.com. The links to do so are on our Facebook and our YouTube page, as well as in today's email blast. So with that, let me jump into trying to take a walk through the various levels of Social Security. However, let me start with just a quick update on the Fairness Act. As of June 10th, Social Security has announced that 96% of those retirees who were known to have been affected by either the windfall elimination provision, the WEP, or the government pension offset, the GPO, have received their retroactive monies. And for most retirees, that retroactive check goes all the way back to January 1st of 2024. Now, I say most because we have some retirees who were denied a spousal or survivor benefit because of the GPO, and because some of the denials were done verbally, there's no written evidence that that denial was ever issued. So as of now, Social Security continues to take these cases as new applications, and they're only paying retroactive benefits back 6 months. Now, obviously, we completely disagree with this approach and this interpretation of the Fairness Act. We believe that all retirees who were either affected by WEP or GPO prior to January 1st of 2024 should be entitled to the full retroactive payment. We're going to continue to advocate on that, but as of now, that's the way that Social Security is interpreting this. So 96% of affected retirees, that comes out to more than 2.6 million retirees across the country. Here in Massachusetts, we believe the total number that have received their retroactive payment as of now is over 115,000 retirees. It's approximately worth about $900 million and retroactive benefits have been paid. That's a huge economic boom to Massachusetts, and we are thrilled that our members have finally been able to receive their benefits. Now, that being said, we are fully aware that some of you are still waiting to be paid. And once again, what we're suggesting that you do, if you believe that you are eligible for either a WEP or GPO recalculation, if you haven't already done so, contact Social Security, verify that you are on the list. Once you have done that, however, there is not much else you can do other than patiently wait. And I know it's annoying. I know that a lot of you have anxiety around this, that you're anxious to get paid. You will be paid. As I've been saying, it's no longer a matter of if you're going to receive your money, it's simply when. And we know that Social Security continues to work on this because every single day we are hearing from our members who wake up in the morning, check their bank account, and lo and behold, there is a payment from Social Security that came in overnight. Just Wednesday, I got a call from a member who did not believe that she was eligible for any Social Security benefits, only to find a deposit of more than $24,000 had appeared in her account because she's a surviving spouse. She had applied for benefits more than 16 years ago when her husband passed away. She didn't realize that she had officially applied for benefits and had been denied at that time because of the GPO law. But Social Security still had that record on file. And as they're processing these claims, they issued that payment. And I don't need to tell you, but if any retiree receives a check for $24,000, that's really a life-changing amount of money. So I cannot be happier for those of you who have received the benefits of this law finally being changed. However, we're getting a lot of calls from members, just like the member on Wednesday, who didn't believe that she was eligible for anything, which leads us to the reason why we're focusing our weekly message on this topic. So there are three ways that retirees might be eligible for Social Security retirement benefits. The standard way, the simplest way, is if you worked under Social Security for a minimum of 40 quarters. Now, 40 quarters is the equivalent of 10 years worth of work. But it doesn't need to be 10 years of consecutive work. Just over your lifetime, if you paid into Social Security for at least 40 quarters or more, then you are eligible for a Social Security benefit at the age of 62. So the criteria is 40 quarters with a minimum age of 62. Now, keep in mind, if you collect Social Security earlier than your full retirement age, and full retirement age is based on your date of birth, and it used to be 65, then it became 66, and it inched forward month by month, and the average retirement age, full retirement age at this point, is 67 and some odd months, depending on what your birth date is. But if you begin to collect Social Security at age 62, you're going to take an early retirement penalty. Your monthly benefit will be reduced, and that reduction is going to remain in place for the rest of your life. It does not increase once you get to your full retirement age. So keep that in mind, and at the end of the day, it comes down to math and in your personal factors, but you need to keep all of these things, take all these things into consideration when you're making those decisions. Because again, once you begin to collect that benefit, there's no going back. You can't reset the clock, so to speak. So if you are at least 62 and you have your 40 quarters, then you're eligible for your own personal Social Security benefit that's based on your work history. So the quarters you paid in, the amount of money you paid in, the age in which you start to collect, those are all the factors that go into how large the benefit is. Now here in Massachusetts, the average monthly benefit is about $2,000, just over $2,000 per month is the average Social Security benefit here in Massachusetts, which is on the high side in terms of the national average. Now, the next way that you could possibly qualify for Social Security benefits is through your spouse. And this is what we refer to as spousal benefits. So if your spouse or divorced spouse is still alive, you are likely still alive, and if they're collecting their own Social Security benefit, then you are eligible to receive up to 50% of their benefit. And if you're divorced, you have to have been married for at least 10 years. But you would be, if you've been married to that person and you're divorced for 10 or more years, you are eligible for up to 50%. Now I'm saying up to 50% because just like just like your own Social Security benefit, if you begin to collect spousal benefits prior to your full retirement age, then you will also receive a reduction in that spousal benefit. So again, keep that in mind. But if the average Social Security benefit is $2,000, 50% of that is $1,000 a month. So the second way that you can qualify for spousal benefits, even if you are receiving your own Social Security, is if 50% of your spouse's benefit is greater than your own benefit. You can't collect both your own benefit and the spousal benefit together. You would just receive the greater of the two benefits, and it simply comes down to math. If your spouse is receiving Social Security, look at what they're receiving per month, divide it by 2. If that number is larger than what you are receiving from Social Security, then you may want to go ahead and apply for spousal benefits, because you would then receive half of your spouse's benefit or your former spouse's benefit going forward. And I hope this makes sense. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to simple math. Again, if 50% of your spouse's Social Security retirement benefit is greater than your own Social Security benefit, then you would be better off by applying for spousal benefits. Now, the third type of Social Security benefit is what we refer to as survivor Social Security benefits. So this would incur if your spouse has passed away, predeceased you, or if you're divorced and your former spouse passes away, then you would be eligible for 100% of their Social Security benefit, which in many cases would be greater than a retiree's own Social Security benefit, particularly if you just had 40 quarters or somewhere just over 40 quarters. Chances are your Social Security benefit under those circumstances is relatively small. So 100% of your spouse's Social Security, assuming that they're getting their full amount, is most likely greater than that benefit. Same would apply to a spouse who's not qualified or eligible for their own Social Security benefit. The same process that you would use for the spousal benefit applies to the survivor benefit. But the main difference being that instead of just 50% of your deceased spouse's benefit, you would then be eligible for 100% of that benefit. And as I said, the average benefit in Massachusetts is $2,000 a month. So for a surviving spouse to suddenly be eligible for a benefit of $2,000 a month, again, these are life-changing events that are extremely beneficial to retirees. And I think a lot of our members don't fully understand that you may be eligible for these benefits and you're leaving money on the table. Some of you have asked, why are certain retirees receiving far greater retroactive checks from Social Security under the Fairness Act than others? As we've been explaining, the average reduction under the WEP law, the windfall elimination provision, is roughly $400 per month. Under the government pension offset, which applied to spousal and survivor benefits, in many cases the GPO completely wiped out the eligibility for spousal or survivor benefits. So just naturally, if you should have been receiving $1,000 a month, but it was taken away because of the GPO, you're now going to start receiving that $1,000 a month in benefit. And if it's retroactive all the way back to January 1st of 2024, you're looking at, under a spousal benefit, of a retroactive check of about $14,000. If it's a survivor's benefit, just like the woman I spoke with on Wednesday, her benefit is about $2,000 a month, just shy of $2,000 a month, and her retroactive check was over $24,000. Again, 14 times two is about 28 grand. So that's why the retroactive checks that are being sent to surviving spouses and for spousal benefits are far greater than the retroactive payments under the windfall elimination provision. I hope this makes a little bit of sense. But if you think that you might be eligible, and even if you're a survivor and you're not sure what your former spouse's benefit either was or would be now, contact Social Security. You have nothing to lose. Give them a call. If you're applying for spousal benefits, you can do so online. If you're applying for survivor benefits, you cannot apply for survivor benefits online. You need to call Social Security. Our advice is to call your local Social Security office, make the inquiry. They'll be able to walk you through that process, and they'll be able to do the math for you to determine whether or not you are eligible for either spousal or survivor benefits and what that benefit would be in terms of the monthly dollar amount, and if there's any kind of retroactive payment that's due to you as well. But unless you're absolutely certain that you're not eligible, that you were never married, that you didn't qualify for benefits on your own, therefore there would be no spousal or survivor path for you. Other than that, I would advise you to look into whether or not you're eligible for these benefits, because again, many members have suddenly realized that they're entitled to and eligible for benefits that in some cases are thousands of dollars a month. And I can't tell you, or you know better than I do, of how much that means to retirees living on fixed incomes. Now, the last thing I want to leave you with is that we're also receiving a lot of inquiries from members who have received a letter in the mail from Social Security asking for their pension amounts from 2022 and 2023. And while we're not exactly certain what is behind this, we suspect that Social Security is enforcing the GPO law prior to January 1st of 2024. Because even though the weapon GPO have been fully repealed, that repeal only took effect on January 1st of 2024. Those laws were in effect prior to that. And what Social Security is asking retirees for is to verify your pension amounts that were paid to you in those years prior to the repeal of weapon GPO. The way to get at that information, if you don't have it readily available, is to contact the retirement system from which you're retired from. So whether it's the state, the teachers, or municipal system, give them a call. They're very familiar with this request. They will send you documentation of spelling out what your benefits were. Now keep in mind, if you are a retiree who is subject to weapon GPO, or subject to GPO, and you were receiving a Social Security benefit prior to January of 2024, under the GPO law, unfortunately, there was also an offset for any COLA increase that you would have received on your pension. So from time to time, Social Security reached out to members, retirees over the years, asking about COLAs and any changes in their pension amount. The 2/3 offset under the GPO also applied to the COLA. So in other words, any COLA you would have received, there would be a 2/3 reduction based on that COLA amount from the Social Security check if you were subjected to the government pension offset. Unfortunately, you need to comply with the request of Social Security. If you don't, there's a chance that they may suspend your Social Security benefit if you don't send them that information. We are not certain of this, but there is a chance that if they determine that there was an overpayment for the years in question, they may claw back whatever that overpayment may have been. Again, the GPO law remains in effect for the years prior to January 1st of 2024. Our hope is that Social Security leaves well enough alone, does not focus in on trying to claw back what really amounts to a little bit of money from individual retirees. We think it's both unfair and unnecessary. We hope that they're not planning on doing that, but we just can't be sure. But if you have any questions and you're a member of our association, give us a call. We're here to help you. In the meantime, I want to wish my dad a happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of the dads amongst our membership. I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. I hope the rain holds off. It's been 14 or 15 weekends in a row where we've had some rain here in Massachusetts. And I think all of us are hoping for some nicer weather coming up. But thank you again for tuning in, and we'll be back to you again next week with a fresh update. Bye-bye, everybody.